The helicopter was hovering 30 feet above my pasture when the HOA security guard ran out with a folding traffic cone and a laminated violation form, waving both like he was directing an airstrike. "You cannot land that here," he screamed into a bullhorn, as if the pilot could hear him over the rotors. "This is a quiet ranch community." The wind from the blades whipped his neon Cedar Mesa Ranch Estate security vest around like a cape. My fence line was rattling. My horses were panicking. My neighbor was recording everything from his porch like it was the season finale of some trashy reality show. Behind me, the paramedic was shouting into his radio. "We need that landing zone clear. We have got a burn victim and the governor is inbound." "Excuse me," the security guard bellowed, planting his cone square in the dusty landing zone. "But Section 14-B specifically prohibits unregistered aircraft on lots under 3 acres. The helicopter hesitated above us, circling. The governor's aide looked at me, horrified. And that is how my HOA security guard tried to block a rescue helicopter, with the literal governor of the state sitting inside it. My name is Noah Hargrave, and all I wanted when I bought the place was quiet. Cedar Mesa Ranch Estates was supposed to be the best of both worlds. Small ranchettes outside of town, space for horses, technically rural, but with an HOA so the realtors could say the phrase well-maintained community without laughing. My 3-acre lot backed up to scrubby hills, with a small barn, a few rescue horses, and a wraparound porch where I could drink coffee and ignore humanity. Enter Belinda Crowell. Belinda was the HOA president, lifestyle overseer, newsletter editor, and self-appointed moral compass of Cedar Mesa Ranch Estates. She was in her 50s, wore visor and polo combos like she was always 5 minutes from a tennis match, and introduced herself as just a volunteer in the same tone petty tyrants use for supreme leader. Our first interaction was mild. She left a note about my non-conforming mailbox because it was not exactly the right shade of HOA sandstone beige. Whatever. I painted it. Then came the letters about my unapproved barn lighting, my overly visible compost bins, and the excessive presence of livestock-appropriate odors. I figured she would get bored eventually. The universe, apparently, figured I needed a multi-act tragicomedy. Things escalated when Belinda learned I did animal rescue. I had taken in a few neglected horses and a pair of traumatized donkeys from a busted backyard breeder operation. I kept to myself, did all my paperwork, maintained the property. No loud parties, no trash, no drama. So naturally, Belinda decided I was a nuisance agricultural operation. She started small. Anonymous concerned neighbor reports to the HOA board about disturbing braying noises at dawn. Photos of my manure pile emailed to the community listserv with the subject line, "This is not the country." Then she discovered the HOA security team. Security at Cedar Mesa was 2 middle-aged guys with reflective vests, a golf cart, and a profound misunderstanding of legal authority. Technically, they were just supposed to patrol for vandalism and make sure the gate worked. Under Belinda's influence, they became her personal enforcement squad. I caught them inspecting my barn while I was at work, meaning they had literally crawled through a loose board in my fence and were taking pictures of my feed room. When I yelled at them, one said, "The president cleared us. We are just gathering evidence." "Evidence of what?" I asked. They looked at each other, suddenly unsure. Potential code violations. The next week, I got a certified letter accusing me of operating a commercial enterprise, apparently because I had a PayPal link on my rescue website for donations. Housing excess animals. Creating a public health hazard via dust. Belinda began hosting emergency board meetings about me. I only knew because my sweet old neighbor, Mrs. Guerrero, would text me running commentary. "Belinda says your horses are attracting coyotes via vibrational energy." She brought a PowerPoint, Noah. I hired a lawyer. We sent the HOA a strongly worded letter reminding them that 1. Rescuing animals is not a commercial operation, 2. My lot was explicitly zoned for livestock, and 3. Trespassing was still illegal. Belinda did not back down. She upgraded. The wildfire changed everything. It started in the hills behind Cedar Mesa on a windy Saturday afternoon. By the time ash started drifting onto my porch, the county had issued an evacuation advisory. I moved fast. I loaded my truck with document boxes, hard drives, and what I could grab. A neighbor helped me trailer 2 horses out, But my third horse, Ember, panicked and kicked the trailer gate so hard she cut her leg open. Blood everywhere. The air reeked of smoke. The sky was orange. Ember needed stitches, and the fire was creeping closer. The county had already mobilized a medical and rescue helicopter to help evacuate people trapped deeper in the hills. My neighbor's son was a paramedic on that crew. He radioed in a special request to swing by the open pasture on my lot, perfect for a landing zone, to extract Ember and a couple of elderly neighbors who could not drive. What I did not know is that the helicopter would not just be carrying medics. The wildfire had flared so suddenly that Governor Elise Navarro, who happened to be touring a nearby solar facility, had boarded the same helicopter with a small entourage to view the damage and coordinate with emergency services. For them, my pasture was just a convenient landing spot on the way to the bigger fire line. For Belinda, it was a direct violation of Section 14-B. No aircraft, including but not limited to planes, ultralights, or helicopters, may land on individual lots without prior board approval. The county sheriff's office called the HOA gatehouse to say, "We are landing a helicopter on Lot 17 for an emergency extraction. Open the gates, keep the road clear." The guard on duty happened to be Travis, Belinda's most eager security henchman. He called Belinda. By the time the helicopter appeared over the hills, Belinda had mobilized like she had been training for this her whole life. She rode shotgun in the security golf cart, visor in place, clipboard in hand, and ordered Travis to secure the area. Which is how we ended up with them physically blocking the landing zone, yelling about HOA policy into a bullhorn, while a rescue helicopter circled overhead carrying paramedics and the governor of the state. The moment the helicopter finally managed to land, well outside the cone Belinda had planted, the universe decided it was time for karma to clock in. The pilot disregarded the HOA circus because, and I quote later from his report, "I do not take directions from people holding decorative plastic cones." Dust and grass exploded everywhere. Belinda shrieked and shielded her clipboard like it was a newborn. Travis dramatically dove behind a boulder he absolutely did not need to dive behind. The side door of the helicopter slid open. A paramedic jumped out and ran toward Ember with a portable kit. Behind him, stepping out with windswept hair, sunglasses, and the exact aura of someone who has no time for nonsense, was Governor Navarro. Belinda, unaware of who she was, marched straight up, still clutching her violation form. "Ma'am, you cannot land here," Belinda shouted over the dwindling rotor noise. "This is a private community. You are in violation of—" One of the governor's aides tried to intercept. "Ma'am, this is an active emergency." Belinda held up a hand. "I do not care who you work for. I am the president of this association, and she jabbed her pen in my direction, is already under review for multiple violations. There are rules." The governor took off her sunglasses slowly. "We are here under the authority of the State Emergency Management Act," she said in a calm but icy tone. "We have live fire within a mile and an injured animal that needs transport." "Who exactly are you?" "I am the elected HOA president," Belinda said with pride. "We have bylaws. We require prior written notice for all aircraft, especially if they might damage the turf." Silence. Somewhere behind us, a tree cracked in the heat. The governor looked at me. "Is she serious?" "She once cited me because my hay bale twine was visually disruptive," I said. The governor blinked. Then she turned to her aide. "Get the county fire chief on the radio. And patch through to legal." That is when Belinda, sensing her authority slipping, tried a new tactic. She pointed at the paramedic currently bandaging Ember's leg. "That animal is a nuisance and a hazard," she declared with conviction. "This entire operation is non-compliant. I am ordering you to cease. Security, detain them if necessary." Travis, bless his misguided heart, took one step toward the governor's aide as if he might actually try to block them. For things happened very quickly. The paramedic's body cam, which had been on the whole time, caught every word. My neighbor, still recording from his porch, audibly whispered, "Oh my God," in the video. The governor's state police security detail stepped out of the helicopter, badges visible. Belinda realized far too late that she had tried to detain the literal governor's team. It took about 48 hours for the full karmic avalanche to hit. In the moment, the governor kept it professional. She told Belinda, in a voice that could freeze lava, that obstructing emergency response was a crime. The state police kindly suggested Belinda and Travis move aside for their own safety. They did, but not without muttering about abuse of power, which was a level of irony visible from orbit. Ember was sedated, loaded into the helicopter with animal rescue harnesses, and flown out to the emergency vet. The elderly neighbors got a ride in a separate evacuation vehicle once the road cleared. Belinda stalked off, already threatening to take this to the board. 2 days later, local news ran the story. A reporter had gotten hold of the paramedics' body cam footage, my neighbor's porch video, and the 911 call log where the county dispatcher said, "The HOA is blocking the landing zone." The segment practically edited itself. They could not show Belinda's full meltdown, but they did air the part where she shouted, "We have bylaws," while a burning hillside smoldered behind her. Then came the follow-ups. The county attorney announced they were investigating possible charges of obstructing emergency services. The State Emergency Management Office issued a statement reminding communities that private regulations do not supersede emergency authority. The governor's office quietly circulated the footage to a couple of legislative allies who had been trying to pass an HOA reform bill that kept getting buried in committee. Within a week, Cedar Mesa Ranch Estates had become the case study for HO has gone too far on every local talk show. The best part? In the middle of the media storm, reporters started digging. Public Records requests unearthed some very interesting facts. Belinda's security patrols had been trespassing on multiple properties. The HOA had illegally fined residents for things not actually in the bylaws. Belinda's brother-in-law was the preferred landscaper listed in the handbook, and homeowners who used him magically avoided violations. By the time the state finished sniffing around, it was not just a public relations headache. It was a full, televised reckoning. 3 months later, Cedar Mesa Ranch Estates looked different. Belinda was no longer president. Technically, she resigned to focus on her family, but the state's consent agreement told a fuller story. She was banned from serving on any HOA board in the state for 10 years. She agreed to pay a fine of $15,000 for obstructing emergency services. She had to attend an 8-hour course on limits of private authority in emergencies. The HOA itself did not escape either. Under the settlement, they had to refund thousands of dollars in bogus fines. Security was reduced back to gate attendants, with clear rules about trespassing and zero enforcement power beyond calling actual law enforcement. An independent monitor was assigned to review any new policies for 2 years. As for me, the governor's office reached out after Ember healed up. They invited me to a quiet signing ceremony for the newly passed Residential Association Accountability Act, which I like to think of as the You Cannot Block a Rescue Helicopter with a Traffic Cone Act. Governor Navarro found me afterward. "Mr. Hargrave," she said, smiling, "you are the only person I have met whose HOA has done more for state reform than a dozen lobbyists." "I just wanted to be left alone with my horses," I said. She laughed. "Be careful. That is how most good laws start." Back at Cedar Mesa, a new board took over. People who mostly just wanted the common areas mowed and the gate to not break every other week. The newsletters got boring again. No more grainy zoomed-in photos of non-compliant trash cans. No more surprise barn inspections. One afternoon, I found Travis, the former security guard, working as a delivery driver, dropping a package at my gate. He looked sheepish. "No hard feelings?" he asked. "You stop trying to tackle helicopters," I said. "I would call that growth." He chuckled and drove off. As for Belinda, rumor has it she moved to a condo complex with minimal governance and has been spotted arguing with the building manager about people using the wrong kind of welcome mats. If your HOA thinks it outranks the fire department, the sheriff, and the governor, it is not a community association. It is a very small, very delusional kingdom, and sooner or later, reality lands in your pasture, rotors spinning, and does not give a single clause of Section 14-B.